지난 16년 미국 대선 논란을 불러일으켰던 가짜뉴스. 한편에서는 이 가짜뉴스가 트럼프를 대통령으로 만들었다는 이야기가 있습니다. 실제로 미 대선 3개월 동안 SNS에서는 진짜 뉴스보다 가짜뉴스가 더 많이 공유됐습니다. 우리나라에서도 마찬가지로 지난 대선 기간 가짜뉴스가 급격히 늘어 사회적 문제를 일으켰습니다. 그렇다면 우리는 이 가짜뉴스를 어떻게 바라봐야 할까요? 뉴스풀, 이번에는 가짜뉴스의 모든 것을 취재했습니다. 사업가 출신 도널드 트럼프와 정치인 힐러리 클린턴이 격돌한 지난 미국 대선. 선거 기간 동안 실시된 수차례 여론조사에선 힐러리 클린턴의 승리가 예상됐습니다. 그러나 트럼프는 이 같은 예상을 뒤집고 40대 미국 대통령에 당선되었습니다. 그만큼 격동적이었던 미국 대선, 트럼프 대통령은 SNS를 적극적으로 활용했습니다. 한편에서는 페이크뉴스가 트럼프를 대통령으로 만들었다는 지적까지 있습니다. 실제로 선거 기간 동안 교황이 트럼프를 지지했다는 것에서부터 클린턴이 IS의 무기를 팔았다, 힐러리 이메일을 유출한 FBI 요원이 살해된 채 발견됐다까지 수많은 가짜뉴스가 유권자들의 SNS를 통해 공유됐습니다. 버즈피드의 조사 결과 SNS를 통해 공유된 선거 관련 가짜뉴스의 공유 횟수는 8,700만 건, 주류 언론 기사의 공유 횟수인 7,300만보다 앞섰습니다. 우리나라도 다르지 않았습니다. 지난 2016년 박근혜 대통령의 탄핵 정국과 이를 따라 급변하는 정치 지형 위에서 여러 거짓 정보가 난무했습니다. 미 대통령 트럼프가 박근혜 대통령의 탄핵을 반대했다는 주장, 북한이 탄핵 정국을 주도했다는 주장 등이 포함됐습니다. 특히 구테스 신임 유엔 사무총장이 반기문 전 사무총장의 대선 출마를 반대한다는 가짜뉴스는 실제 정치적으로 이용되기도 했습니다. 미국과 우리나라의 가짜뉴스 현상을 종합해봤을 때 가짜뉴스는 인터넷을 기반으로 하는 SNS를 통해 유통되며 확산 속도가 빨라 그 파급력이 매우 강합니다. 또한 가짜뉴스는 특정 언론사의 기사처럼 교묘히 위장하고 헤드라인을 비롯한 실제 기사 형식을 그대로 갖춰 유권자들에게 노출됐습니다.
You know, there are other politicians that seem to seek to label anything that's unfavorable to them as fake, but you know that's serving a political agenda. Broadly, it's anything that purports to be real information that's actually false.
The more proper use of the term fake news would be in reference to a story that is factually false in some way, and it would either be false on its face or false because the story omits a material fact and therefore leaves a false impression in your mind.
사실 페이크 뉴스는 새로운 현상이 아닙니다. 특정한 정치적 목적을 가지고 거짓 정보를 사실인 양 퍼뜨리는 행위는 매우 오래된 현상입니다. 과거 나치 독일과 러시아 정부도 가짜 뉴스를 통해 여론을 조작했습니다. 이를 우리는 선전이라고 부릅니다. 이와 달리 단순히 정치적 풍자의 목적으로 가짜 뉴스를 생산하는 경우도 있었습니다.
In some ways it's new, in some ways it's not. It's not new because there's been many instances of stories in newspapers being lies. For example, in the 1880s, that would purportedly have a news story of somebody who traveled to the moon and described the moon and all the rest of this stuff. So as long as there's been newspapers, there's been lies in newspapers. That's nothing new. I think what's novel today, though, and different about what's called fake news today, not only for politics, but also, unfortunately, for media, there are pressures right now that favor fake news, that don't dissuade or discourage it, but that encourage it.
그렇다면 최근 들어 가짜뉴스가 그 영향력을 발휘하는 이유는 무엇일까요? 인터넷은 인류로 하여금 누구나 정보를 생산할 수 있도록 만들었습니다. 인류 역사상 이렇게 많은 정보가 생산되고 유통된 시대는 없었습니다. 그러나 이러한 수많은 정보들이 모두 신뢰할 수 있는 것은 아닙니다. 우리는 정보의 출처가 모호하고 사실인지 거짓인지 판단하기 어려운 수많은 정보들의 홍수 속에 살고 있습니다.
I think that as long as there has been mass information, sometimes there's information that's incorrect that gets disseminated, or information that is misleading, or information that's persuasive that purports to be news. But I think recently, one of the things with online news is that the presentation forms of online news are so diverse that the cues that people rely on to determine the credibility of a given piece of information vary widely in how they're presented from one source to another source. A lot of users, a lot of consumers are seeing that content disconnected from its original context, and that's where they're making the decision to process it. I think that's kind of the prevalence of news that's increasingly consumed through social networks and other forms where it's disabused of its original content.
온라인 저널리즘 시대가 되면서 미디어의 전통적 수익 수단이었던 광고도 다른 형태를 보이고 있습니다. 이는 클릭베이트로 설명할 수 있습니다. 클릭베이트는 기사의 클릭 횟수가 곧 광고 수익과 직결되는 것을 의미합니다. 이러한 메커니즘 속에서 기사의 진실 여부나 기사에 대한 실제 구독 여부는 중요하지 않습니다. 이 때문에 자극적인 헤드라인으로 독자들이 클릭을 유도하는 낚시성 기사나 가짜뉴스가 생산되기 시작했고, 이는 언론인과 저널리즘에 대한 신뢰를 떨어뜨리는 이유가 되었습니다.
I think there are correlations with clickbait. I think a lot of, there's a couple of things people talk about when they talk about clickbait. One is the content itself, and one is sort of the strategies used to get people to click on it, right? Sort of salacious headlines, images that may or may not have anything to do with the story, but sort of serve to catch people's attention. You sort of deliberately have these headlines that use a lot of words to sort of build suspense in the user and make it seem like there's something dramatic lurking, that you'll find out the answer to life if you only click on this link. And so I think a lot of fake news is marketed in a way to appeal to some of those same emotions.
매스 커뮤니케이션 학자들은 최근 가짜 뉴스의 영향력이 커지고 있는 주요 원인 중 하나가 바로 SNS의 등장이라고 주장합니다.
A traditional newspaper, printed in the day, of course, as I'm sure you're aware, was what you can call kind of a cafeteria. Had all kinds of things in it. Just like a cafeteria, some food you like, some food you don't like, but at least you see it and kind of think about it. Same thing with, newspaper prior to social media. Once social media and on digital cut up a newspaper into individual stories. That's where the problem was, because now they can funnel just individual stories to people, and they lose the scale and the scope of what is in the sum total of a paper, which is a much broader range of things.
I think the current trends probably started in the last 5 years, as so much of news consumption, and especially digital news consumption, has shifted towards social networks being the primary source of exposure, right? So some people might see an article on a social network and click on it, but a lot of people might just see a headline, a photograph, and a couple of sentences on social network, and that is their news consumption. They saw it, they read it, they choose not to click, and then they move on. They might not have even looked to see what original source published the information. And so I think it's really been sort of a trend over the last 5 or 6 years as news consumption has on social networks has spiked.
They are not a neutral conduit. They're not simply a neutral platform that they should not take any responsibility for what's on there. Because of how the businesses are structured, because of the choices that favor certain kinds of content over others, they are making active choices about what content appears and what doesn't.
이러한 사회적 배경을 통해 영향력이 점점 극대화되고 있는 가짜뉴스. 가짜뉴스로 인해 파생되는 문제는 단순히 거짓말로 끝나는 것이 아닙니다. 정치적, 경제적, 그리고 민주주의의 근간을 흔드는 중요한 원인이 되기도 합니다.
They began investigating the stories that were most often shared on Facebook and other social media platforms around the election, and found that fake news stories were shared more often than were stories from, say, the New York Times, ABC, NBC News. And the million-dollar question has become, what is the effect of that? how many people may have changed their minds about a candidate, may have changed their vote on election day because.
I think that it is a serious issue, especially here in the United States, where we really value the idea of a free and independent press. I think as a check on power, and I think if people cannot trust, independent sources for information, that puts, our democracy in jeopardy. Because if you have, people in power, including politicians who are trying to mislead the public, you need another source of information to verify the truth. And as journalists,
some of the initial research that has been done on fake news has suggested that there is not a lot of that going on, not a lot of mind-changing going on, that what fake news is more effective at is confirming biases that you already have rather than changing your beliefs entirely. But that in itself can be powerful insofar as it would perhaps blind you to an alternative simply by reinforcing in your mind that what you believe is the right and proper thing to believe.
최근 현대연구원의 보고서에 따르면 가짜뉴스가 13만 건 유통될 경우 이에 수반되는 사회적 경제적 손실액은 무려 30조 원으로 추정됩니다. 그렇다면 가짜뉴스로 인해 발생하는 피해를 최소화할 수 있는 방법은 무엇일까요? SNS의 대표주자인 페이스북은 최근 가짜뉴스에 대한 사회적 책임을 인식하고 이에 대해 최선을 다하겠다는 입장을 밝혔습니다.
I mean, I don't think I think we can hold the platforms responsible for creating the fake news content, of course, but I think they have a responsibility to try to take steps with their interface and their content filtering to at least make sure their audiences are fully informed, right? So Facebook has experimented with labels on certain news stories that would let the consumer know that this article has been disputed by third-party fact checkers, and even specific ones like Snopes.com or PolitiFact or some other ones like that, and linking to that information. So someone might see that under a news story on Facebook.
They are not neutral, they're very interested. The first very important thing that has already started to take place a little bit in the States anyway, is to put more legal ownership of content on the shoulders of social media companies. It's their responsibility that they need to really accept. That's the first thing.
I think they certainly already do. I mean, Facebook does a pretty good job of filtering out nudity and overly sexual content, graphic violence, things like that. So they're certainly capable of doing it. They can block information from certain specific URLs or certain whole domains, or based on photo recognition of the content or keyword recognition of the words. The extent to which they do so obviously has to be done ethically, so as not to sort of serve as political issue censors. But I think there's ways to flag information that's disputed.
가짜뉴스 현상은 SNS 운영사들의 자구적인 노력과 기술적 통제만으로 해결될 수 있는 문제는 아닙니다. 그렇다면 정부가 나서서 가짜뉴스를 규제할 수는 없을까요? 일부 학자들은 정부 규제가 자칫 표현의 자유를 침해할 우려가 있다고 말합니다.
Because, of course, in a lot of Western democracies and democracies throughout the world, the claim of censorship is a really strong kind of claim. I would not personally advocate censoring material in the sense of having a small committee going through, even if a small committee could go through billions of items every day, but let's pretend. Small committee going through and picking and choosing. I don't think that's good. I'm in favor of a broader range of materials, some of which may not be preferred or whatever. At the same time, I say that I think that more needs to be done to help develop new user awareness and capabilities, so that users become more critical of what they see in a number of ways.
Dangerous and harmful to democracy. One of the one of the underlying assumptions of the First Amendment, whether it is completely supportable or not, and I think it has grave frailties itself, is the theory of the marketplace of ideas. And the marketplace of ideas has a direct relationship to the kind of democratic republic that we have in the United States. So the theory.
대부분의 학자들은 가짜뉴스의 부정적 영향력을 해소할 수 있는 가장 근본적인 해결책으로 수용자의 올바른 대중매체 이용 교육을 강조합니다.
That's hard. I think the best response to the spread of fake news is not one that journalists chiefly would be responsible for, and that would be to enhance media literacy education and to make sure that at the K through 12 levels we are developing skills that help our students understand concepts like credibility and accuracy, and so that when they enter the media environment and they begin reading news and they begin watching broadcast shows and listening to podcasts, that they have the tools they need to be able to separate the good from the bad.
What usually is done in media literacy projects is to set up an authority that tries to tell the user this is fake news and this isn't. That are arbiters of truth. They do fact checking, like factcheck.org, and they fact check things. Now these are valuable, but the difficulty I see in them is that they don't develop a capacity in the reader. In other words, the reader becomes dependent on the authorities to tell them what's true and what's not. I don't think that's really helpful. By contrast, I think some of the efforts that are much more interesting are ones that help develop a reader's capacity.
최근 국제도서관연맹은 올바른 대중매체 이용 방법으로 가짜뉴스 식별법을 제안했습니다. 노출된 정보의 출처를 반드시 확인하고 관련 정보에 대한 자신의 편견을 검토하는 매우 간단한 방법으로 가짜뉴스를 판별할 수 있다는 것입니다. 가짜뉴스, 뉴스의 형세를 띠고 있지만 사실이 아닌 거짓입니다. 누군가는 거짓인 줄 모르고 다른 누군가는 거짓인 줄 알면서도 이를 공유합니다. 모두가 알고 있는 양치기 소년 이야기, 동화에서처럼 계속 가짜뉴스가 공유된다면 아무도 진짜 뉴스를 믿지 않게 될 것입니다. 정작 늑대가 왔을 때 아무도 곁에 남아있지 않는 상황, 가짜뉴스에 경각심을 가지고 대처해야만 하는 이유입니다. 뉴스풀 권경일입니다.